2 billion people are eating something dangerous tonight and they have no idea. It's sitting in their fridge right now, wrapped in foil, waiting to be microwaved for dinner. And the scariest part? It looks completely normal. It smells fine. It tastes fine. But inside that container, a silent chemical process has already begun. One that most people have never heard of, and one that could be quietly shaping their health for years to come. Here's a number I want you to sit with for a second. 1 in 6. That is the estimated share of all cancer cases worldwide now linked, at least in part, to dietary factors, including how we store, reheat, and eat our food. Poor dietary habits rank as the second biggest modifiable risk factor for cancer on the planet, trailing only tobacco. And yet almost nobody is talking about the specific moment where a lot of that risk begins, the second time you heat up your leftovers. This isn't about food poisoning. It isn't about an upset stomach after a bad microwave meal. What we're talking about here is something slower, quieter, and far more serious. The gradual buildup of harmful compounds in your body every single time you reheat certain foods the wrong way. Cancer doesn't happen overnight. It builds, it accumulates. And some of the very building blocks of that process, free radicals, inflammatory byproducts, and compounds officially classified as carcinogens, aren't coming from cigarette smoke or polluted air. They're coming from your own kitchen. By the end of this video, you are going to know exactly which 4 foods create the biggest risk when reheated, why it happens at a chemical level, and, most importantly, exactly what to do instead so you can keep eating the foods you love without the hidden downside. Stick around, because the 4th food on this list is one that almost everyone assumes is completely harmless. It isn't. And once you hear why, you will never look at your leftovers the same way again. Before we get into the 4 foods themselves, you need 3 simple concepts because they explain everything that follows. Keep these in your head as we go because you'll see them show up again and again. The first is oxidation. When fat and protein sit in the fridge, they slowly react with oxygen and become unstable. Heat them up a second time, and that instability breaks down even further into compounds that are known to damage DNA. The second is a reaction most people have actually heard of without realizing it. The browning reaction responsible for that golden, appetizing color on cooked food. It's a wonderful thing the first time it happens. But heat proteins and sugars over and over, and that same reaction starts producing byproducts linked to chronic inflammation, one of the most well-established drivers of cancer at a cellular level. The third is what happens to naturally occurring nitrates in certain foods. While sitting in your fridge, those nitrates can be converted by bacteria into nitrites, and when those nitrites are reheated, they can transform again into nitrosamines, compounds the World Health Organization has directly linked to cancer risk in humans. Oxidation, damaged browning byproducts, nitrosamine formation. 3 mechanisms. Watch for them, because every single food on this list involves at least one. Let's start with the one nearly everyone on Earth eats: rice. Rice feeds more people than any other food on the planet. Billions of people cook a batch, eat some, and put the rest in the fridge to reheat later. It's second nature. It's also where the real problem begins, and it has almost nothing to do with the microwave itself. Raw rice naturally carries a hardy bacterium that survives the first round of cooking. As rice cools down and sits in the refrigerator, this bacterium can multiply and release toxins that are remarkably heat resistant. Here's the part that should genuinely concern you. When you reheat that rice, the heat might kill the bacteria, but it does almost nothing to the toxins they've already produced. Those toxins survive the microwave. They survive the stovetop. They go straight into your body intact. Laboratory research has shown that this particular toxin can damage the energy-producing structures inside your cells, a type of cellular disruption scientists link to the earliest stages of abnormal cell growth. There's a second issue layered on top of that. Every time starchy food like rice is heated repeatedly, it increases the formation of a compound created when natural sugars react with a specific amino acid under high heat. That compound has been officially classified as probably cancer-causing in humans. So what actually works? Cook rice fresh whenever you realistically can. If you do need to store leftovers, spread the rice out on a shallow tray right after cooking so it cools quickly, refrigerate it within an hour, eat it within 24 hours, and never, ever reheat the same batch more than once. Now let's talk about the food that fitness enthusiasts, dietitians, and doctors alike treat as an almost perfect protein: chicken. Here's the uncomfortable truth. When muscle tissue, like chicken, gets exposed to high heat for a second time, it undergoes a chemical process that produces compounds capable of binding directly to your DNA. These aren't fringe theories. They are among the most heavily studied dietary carcinogens in modern nutrition science. Once inside your body, your liver converts them into reactive compounds that can trigger genetic mutations, and mutations affecting the wrong genes are one of the primary ways cancer gets its start in the first place. Large studies looking at people who regularly ate well-done or repeatedly reheated poultry found a measurable increase in colorectal cancer risk. Separate research tied frequent reheated chicken consumption to a higher risk of pancreatic cancer, a disease with one of the lowest survival rates of any major cancer type. That should stop you in your tracks because chicken is quite possibly the single most safe food in the average health-conscious kitchen. The fix isn't complicated. Whenever you can, eat leftover chicken cold. Think salads, wraps, grain bowls. If you do need to reheat it, use the lowest effective temperature and stop as soon as it reaches a safe internal temperature. Don't blast it on high just because you're in a hurry. Now here's where things get genuinely surprising, because the next two foods are ones you've probably been told to eat more of, not less. Let's talk about spinach. And really, this applies to a whole family of leafy greens, including celery, beets, lettuce, and Swiss chard. Spinach is one of the most celebrated vegetables in the entire nutrition world. Iron, folate, magnesium, powerful antioxidants, nutritionists, cardiologists, and oncologists all recommend eating more of it. And they're completely right, as long as you eat it fresh or finish it shortly after cooking. The trouble starts when spinach gets stored and then reheated. Spinach happens to be one of the richest natural sources of dietary nitrates. On their own, those nitrates are actually good for you. They support healthy blood pressure and cardiovascular function. But once cooked spinach sits in your refrigerator, naturally occurring bacteria begin converting those nitrates into nitrites. This is the exact same chemical shift that happens in cured meats. The very process that got processed meat officially classified as a cancer-causing agent back in 2015. Reheat that spinach after 24 hours or more in the fridge, and you're applying heat to a vegetable that is already partially transformed into something far less friendly. Those nitrites can react with amino acids to form nitrosamines, among the most potent dietary carcinogens identified in modern research, shown in studies to trigger cancer development at remarkably low doses. Think about the irony here for a second. One of the healthiest vegetables on the entire planet can quietly become a source of harmful compounds purely because of a storage habit millions of health-conscious people practice every single week without a second thought. The solution is simple. Cook leafy greens fresh whenever you can and eat them right away. If you have leftovers, eat them cold within a few hours rather than reheating. Don't refrigerate cooked spinach with the plan of warming it up later. If you must store it, keep it airtight, eat it within 6 hours, and skip the reheating step entirely. And now, the one almost nobody sees coming: eggs. Eggs are about as close to a perfect food as nutrition science gets. All 9 essential amino acids, brain-supporting choline, immune-boosting selenium, eye-protecting antioxidants. By nearly every measure, eggs deserve their reputation as a health staple. So why are we talking about them? Because reheating eggs, especially scrambled eggs or hard-boiled eggs, creates a specific problem almost nobody discusses. Most of an egg's fat sits in the yolk, and that fat undergoes an initial, totally normal round of oxidation the first time it's cooked. But refrigerate that egg and reheat it later at high heat, and those already oxidized fats break down even faster the second time around. The byproducts produced during that process include oxidized forms of cholesterol that scientific reviews have directly linked to inflammatory, cell-damaging, and genotoxic effects. Genotoxic is a word worth pausing on. It means toxic to your genetic material, your DNA, and by definition, anything genotoxic is considered a potential contributor to cancer because it can cause the kind of DNA damage that starts the whole process rolling. There's more. When cooked egg proteins get blasted with heat a second time, especially in a microwave, they form abnormal structural bonds that make them harder for your body to break down properly. Some research even suggests that the sulfur-containing compounds naturally found in eggs degrade under repeated heating, and the byproducts of that breakdown may contribute to oxidative stress in your digestive tract, a process considered one of the key mechanisms behind colorectal cancer, the third most common cancer worldwide. So here's what to do instead. Eat eggs immediately after cooking whenever possible. If you're prepping in advance, keep hard-boiled eggs in their shells and eat them cold. Skip the microwave entirely for scrambled eggs or omelets. If you truly need to warm an egg dish, use gentle indirect heat like a low-temperature oven or a warm water bath, and never push the temperature past what's considered safe for reheated eggs. Let's pull all of this together because the pattern here matters more than any single food. Rice reactivates heat-resistant bacterial toxins and produces a probable carcinogen through repeated heating of its starches. Chicken generates DNA-binding compounds through protein oxidation, with real measured links to colorectal and pancreatic cancer. Spinach and other nitrate-rich greens convert into nitrosamine-producing compounds after storage and reheating. And eggs produce oxidized genotoxic cholesterol byproducts along with oxidative stress in the gut lining when reheated at high temperatures. 4 different foods, 4 different chemical pathways, one consistent message. The way you store and reheat food matters just as much as what you eat in the first place. None of this means you need to throw out your leftovers or panic every time you open the fridge. It means making a handful of small, practical adjustments that cost you nothing and take almost no extra effort. Cook rice fresh when you can. If you're storing it, cool it fast, refrigerate within the hour, eat it within a day, and never reheat the same batch twice. Eat leftover chicken cold when possible, and if you do reheat it, keep the temperature low and controlled. Skip reheating leafy greens altogether. Eat them cold or cook a fresh batch instead. Treat eggs the same way. Eat them fresh, store hard-boiled eggs unpeeled, and never microwave a reheated egg dish. A food thermometer is one of the cheapest tools you can own for this. Reheating gently below the point where these damaging reactions accelerate makes a measurable difference compared to blasting food on high heat. And across all 4 of these foods, one rule beats every other tip combined. Never reheat anything more than once. Cook it, eat it, reheat it a single time if you have to, and after that, let it go. Honestly, the biggest change you can make isn't even about reheating technique at all. It's portioning your meals so you're simply generating fewer leftovers to begin with. Less waste, less risk, less to think about. So here's my question for you. Out of these 4, which one caught you completely off guard? Was it rice, the food almost nobody thinks twice about? Was it chicken, the safe protein that ends up in practically every healthy meal plan? Was it spinach, a food nutrition experts practically beg you to eat more of? Or was it eggs, sitting quietly in the fridge every single week? Drop your answer below. And if there's a food you personally reheat all the time that you'd want broken down like this, mention that too. Now think about someone in your life who reheats leftovers without giving it a second thought. A roommate living off meal prepped chicken and rice, a parent who microwaves spinach halfway through the week, someone who scrambles a big batch of eggs every Sunday and reheats a bowl of them every morning. They don't know what you know now. Sharing this with them takes 10 seconds, and it might be one of the more useful things you do for them all week. Not to scare them, just to give them the same information you just got, so they can make their own informed choice. The research behind everything in this video comes from peer-reviewed science and public health guidance, and it reflects our current understanding, which, like all nutrition science, continues to evolve as new evidence comes in. This isn't medical advice, and it isn't a diagnosis. If you're managing an existing health condition or thinking about making bigger changes to your diet, talk to a doctor or registered dietitian who knows your full picture. What this video is meant to do is put real, evidence-based information in front of you in a way that's actually usable. So you can walk back into your kitchen tonight and make one small, smarter decision about how you handle your leftovers.